Hey everyone, today's video is about improving in DBD, getting better at the basic skills of the game. Are you someone who often dies first? Do you always die and never escape? Do you hate chases because you never know what to do in them? Well, today we're looking at chases, something we're going to do with the examples I've chosen. We're going to look at these examples, then assess how I played them, what I did right, what mistakes I made, and the tools available to me that I did and did not utilize. Hopefully by the end of this, you can come out a little bit better and more knowledgeable, because in my opinion, chases are actually pretty difficult to master. I certainly haven't mastered them, however there are some easy tricks that I can give you for improvement, so I do hope this is helpful. I'm basically going to show you some chases and describe how I approach and play within them. Example 1. An average chase with average execution. Let's watch it first. So, the chase starts initially because I lack awareness of my surroundings, and misinterpret the terror radius to be moving away, leading me to run back to the gen to start it. I quickly pick up that the killer is there though, and turn to run. I have two options here, left or right. The shack is the safer building and loop, however the killer is trapper, and I don't know whether he has been in the building yet, potentially trapping it. The lower level is also filled with high grass, where he would likely place these traps. As he's so close to me, he could insta-down me because of this, so I chose to go the long way around the shack to the right to try and access a loop I was on earlier, and I know is not trapped. As I reach the corner I understand that there is nothing available to me to prevent the hit, other than a well-placed spin. I decide I'll try my luck, and now I have more time to go elsewhere as I successfully land the spin. Generally, I would recommend using spins only in dead zones, areas where you have nothing to loop or drop. They should really be a last resort unless you're super comfortable with them. That isn't to say, however, that you shouldn't always try it if you believe you are definitely taking a hit in that moment. He recovers quickly, however. Potentially he has unrelenting, and I realise again that I will have to suffer a hit. I know he will be frustrated already because he missed the previous hit. I play killer, and I know when I get spun, I tend to be a bit impatient and will start to make rash decisions. Note also that when I run in this direction and I plan the spin, I lean toward the corner so that the killer will aim to a harder right of me than usual, throwing his lunge off. This allows me to land a second spin. Despite all of that, he hits me on the same corner I would have originally been hit. It's not so bad though because I brought my team and myself a few extra seconds by delaying with spins. From here I run for the loop I was originally planning on going to, although I assess whether it's worth the risk to go left and utilise the shack. But I have dead hard, and once I reach the loop, a pallet too, so I'm feeling confident in running forward. He manages to catch up to me quickly in this section, which is when I clock that he has saved the best for last, a perk which reduces his cooldown after a basic attack. This pushes me into the loop which I complete twice before dropping the pallet. I decide to not try and fake the pallet because I know he's playing aggressively and will likely not respect it. I also still have my dead hard, but because I've learned that he likely has unrelenting, I might not make it round the loop again if I use it instead of the pallet. So down the pallet goes. From here I can either run up to the shack or go forward. I go forward, breaking line of sight and positioning myself in a place where I can see him move. I note that this new area has a pallet, and that I still have the option to run up towards the shack. Assessing that the shack is a manageable distance away, I run for it. The killer decides to go elsewhere. From here I can either double back to the generator, or go forward and search for a different one. Example 2. A poorly executed chase with lack of awareness. Let's see it.
I think I got away.
So it begins with me on a generator, facing forward, and I'm not really checking around me. I hear the heartbeat but decide not to react until I can see him. I hear him charge his power to my left, which is when I bolt off the gen. I know I have a pallet in front of me, so I run for it immediately. However, the pallet is fake. This leaves me in a very weak position, and what is now basically a dead zone, especially due to his proximity to me. This is really important. I knew this pallet had been dropped, I'd seen it earlier, but because my attention dropped, I hadn't picked up that the pallet was fake. Awareness of the map is important, especially against characters that deceive like Doctor or Freddy. I decide my best course of action is to turn back and take a hit. I get lucky with some spins. I reach close to the shack that I plan to run the killer through. Here is the pinnacle moment. I stop and get greedy by trying to hit a third spin, which does not land, and ends up with me panicking as a result. Play safe, don't get greedy with the spins when you don't need to. In the dead zone it was different because there was nothing in sight available, whereas here I have a loop ready in front of me, so the spin wasn't necessary. I attempt to make distance, which is usually good, but as you can see I allow the killer to see me the whole way. I don't break line of sight, which is important when trying to outrun a killer. Line of sight may be the most important part of escaping. Second, I run to the corner of the map where I am now in a much worse area. This leaves me vulnerable, as I now have to commit to looping this structure. Although I notice due to my positioning that he is likely going to shock me into tier 3, which will disallow me from interacting with windows or pallets. I decide to pre-through the pallet, which is a good decision, it blocks the killer off. I run left, break line of sight, and I briefly consider running up to my right, toward the killer shack. I hesitate however, and it results in me panicking once again, and running left. I should have stayed calm under the pressure and gone right, to attempt to reach the shack, which is arguably the strongest loop in the game. See the hesitation here? Note also that when killers break pallets, they look down, so broadly they won't see you cross, they'll only see the scratch marks after. As I run to the left, I know I can't reach the other structure ahead, so I run into the tree line, hitting a dead end and backing up to look for a vault. I find none and go down. Example 3. A quick chase, which is ended promptly with a tech. Let's see it.
Oh shit, there, okay. I don't know where he fucking went. I thought he was chasing me, but... Oh fuck. Okay.
My teammate and I both run as we hear the terror radius. They make a good decision here by going in the opposite direction to me. Always try and do this as to not be tripping over each other's heels when in a chase. It can lead to accidental sandbagging and body blocking. As I run right, I spot the killer's red stain through the shack gaps, and I decide I can comfortably continue running to the right of me. It turns out, however, that he has a better idea, which is to vault the window. This leaves me exposed and off-put as he has just made a decision I didn't anticipate. I react by immediately running to his left and hugging the wall, so he can't see me. Remember breaking line of sight, even when proximity is this close. I then hold down my W and A keys to push into the shack and move left, allowing me to pass right behind him as the vault action is completed. He runs the other way and doesn't know where I am. I position myself on the corner where I can see both ways, and I'm ready for if he comes back to check if I'm still at the shack. Example 4. An average shack chase with good and bad decisions. Let's see it.
Fucked up. I'm starting another one.
This one has an interesting start. A bad one, really. Due to my madness and lack of visibility of the killer, I don't know what I'm going to do or where I'm going, so I return to the same safe corner to get an angle. As I get there, he's there already, and he lands a hit. I briefly hesitate and panic by going left, but I compose myself quickly and readjust to stay within the shack where I'm safe, utilising the burst of speed from his hit to get me to the other end in time. Properly utilising the speed boosts are important. If they give you a chance to gain ground, always use it. Also, don't drop pallets after just being hit, because this only really slows you down. Notice that as I reach here, I check back, where I can see behind me, and also through shack window, I don't see the killer, so I return to my corner. I catch that he's moving to the right as I pass the window. I run until he can't see me before I double back. This time I go for the window. On the next run round, I get unsure of his distance and decide to be safe and drop the pallet. Maybe a bad decision, as I could have made the window, but I decided to be cautious given my madness level and his ability to stop me from interacting with objects. Alright, that's all the examples I have for today. Hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.